this video I'm going to show you how to write some code to get the servos to move. Please make sure you've watched the last video which shows you how to connect up your Crumble and servos before watching this video. So the first thing we're going to do is write a bit of code which will help us to center our servos. And this is easily done by selecting a program start block and then a do forever block. And we're going to place a piece of code in that block which will set the servo position, and you can see that here from the input output menu. It says servo A to 0 degrees, and you can change what letter that is depending on which pin you've used to connect your servo on the Crumble. And when you run that program, you'll hear that servo make a noise as it centers itself. Okay, time now to program something a bit more interesting. In the example I'm using here, I've made a simple shaker. Let me just show you. Okay, so here's my instrument, real easy to make. I've just recycled an old shaker I bought many years ago on holiday, and I've attached it to a servo, and everything's hooked up to my Crumble, ready to go. So let's go back to the programming environment and see how we can get this to make a rhythm. Okay, we're going to start with a really simple rhythm. I'm just going to get the servo to go to -15 degrees. Then I'm going to use the wait milliseconds block, and I'm going to get it to wait for, let's say, 500 milliseconds. And then I'm going to get it to swing through to +15 degrees, so it's swinging through an arc. And then I'm going to get it to wait for the same time again. And because we have all of this in our do forever block, it's going to repeat it over and over. So let's run that program by pushing the green arrow and see what the instrument's doing. Okay, so we can see it's playing that simple rhythm. So let's go back and make that rhythm a bit more complex. Okay, to start with, I think I'm going to change the time. I'm going to make it a bit quicker. I'm going to go for a 200 millisecond gap between each movement of the servo. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these repeat a fixed number of time blocks. And I'm going to change that, not 10 times, but I'm going to get it to do it twice. Then what I'm going to do is after it's played that rhythm twice, it's going to wait a second, and I'm going to build a slightly different rhythm beneath it using another one of the repeat a fixed number of time blocks. So I'm going to drag that in here, and again I'm going to get it to repeat twice. Now I've changed it so that that first rhythm's quite quick, so I'm going to make this rhythm quite slow. So it will do 2 quick shakes and then 2 slower shakes. So let's get it to again go between -15 and +15, but this time it's going to wait, let's say, 800 milliseconds. So I just add in the second movement command for the servo and a second wait block as well. So now we've got a more complex rhythm which is really made up of 2 smaller rhythms. And you can play around with the timings of those smaller rhythms and the number of times they're repeated each. So let's click the green arrow to run the program and see what the instrument's doing now. Okay, so we can see now that it's doing a couple of slower shakes and then a couple of quicker shakes. A couple of slower shakes and a couple of quicker shakes. So this has been a simple example of how to make an instrument with just one servo and not much code. So get stuck into the kit in your bit bag and see what you can create.